Hey everybody, Hank Linderman here. How are you all doing? I'm indoors today because it's a little chilly outside. It's too cold, and also I was a little concerned about the wind. The wind noise has been pretty bad. So rather than sit outside in the cold weather and deal with the wind, I'm going to talk to you from here. Our title today is "Saving Capitalism from Groundhog Day." You all, I'm sure, remember the Bill Murray movie of Groundhog Day, where Bill Murray uh, has to go through day after day and a little bit of self-examination in order to escape being caught in a loop. And uh, I'm seeing that phrase about Groundhog Day showing up quite a bit uh, across the web. People are calling this Groundhog Day. Uh, we had for a little bit, we had a moment where the rate of new cases and deaths had dropped for a day or so. Actually, for only one day, 2 days ago, the rate of new cases and deaths dropped enough for it to look like maybe, wow, we might get out of this more easily. But as it turns out, that was all the numbers came roaring back yesterday. So we're still suffering from lag times and inaccuracies in reporting, and we're also suffering because we don't have proper testing going on across the country yet. I'm going to look at the current count. So today, this time of day, we already have in the United States, we have 22,184 new cases. And yesterday, for the day, we had a total of 24,742 new cases. So we're going to go past that. I'm pretty sure we will blast past the figure we're at right now. The site I'm looking at is called worldometers.info, and they've got just more meters than you'd want to look at, population and births, deaths, all that sorts of thing. And it's a very helpful site. So right now we've popped up, the death to the virus is now number 3, the number 3 cause of death in the United States. We have more patients in the United States now, almost more than the next 3 countries combined, Italy, Spain, and China. You'd have to combine those 3 countries to have more patients than we do. So we're increasing. This is going to be obviously a serious problem. So still lots of work to do. By the way, I'm enjoying doing these daily briefings, but I want to make them better and better. So I'm aiming next week. We found out a way that I can have some guests. So think about who you'd like to have on here as a guest with me. I've already reached out to a few people who said sure, they'd be happy to do it. Some of them may only want to talk about music, and that's just fine. I had a conversation with Steve Levine, who was the producer who did the Culture Club and a bunch of other bands, and Steve says he'd be happy to talk music with us sometime next week. So we're going to try and make that happen. If you can think of some other folks who you would like to have speak with us, that would be great. So I want to also talk about COVID Care for All, and this is proposed in a New York Times article. I'm going to look at it so I get the right title, and it's on my personal page. I've put a link to it. And let's see if I can find it. I've lost it already. But it's related to other economies are not shutting down. They are not losing, their unemployment figures aren't going quite so high. And a big part of it has to do with the way that they're treating people with jobs. For example, in England, what I'm hearing is that people who work at restaurants are getting 80% of their pay, and their job is guaranteed when they get back. Of course, we're not doing anything like that right now in the United States. And in fact, people who work in restaurants in the Commonwealth of Kentucky have it particularly tough because they are paid in my opinion, unfairly low minimum wage, sometimes as low as, I believe, $2.15 instead of $7.25 for their minimum wage. And they have no guarantee they're going to get their jobs back. So that's one way that we can protect employment, is to look at other economies that are protecting the jobs of people who work. The other thing that I suspect we need to do, for this moment, with virtually everyone in the world is going to be affected by this virus, every American will be affected by this virus. And our healthcare system is just not up to it. And the results we are seeing that we don't yet have control over it. We don't really have a test. We don't, people who need testing, they're just not able to get it. If you show up at the hospital, you've got to be really sick to be taken, depending on which part of the country you're in. We're expecting in certain hotspots, like in New York, it's very likely they will get overrun. So hopefully that's not the case, but it is looking really bad. And by the way, this virus is not going to hit every location in the country at the same time. So we're in Kentucky, and we've got a relatively low rate of infection. Thank you, Governor Andy Beshear, who's doing a spectacular job. And also to the people of Kentucky who are doing a good job with social distancing. But it's going to make its way across the country. And so we're going to be dealing with this for quite some time. I really do want to talk about covering the costs of the virus. The medical costs of the virus, my opinion, need to be covered by the government for every single person. And we're hearing stories of people who have shown up to their doctor, and the cost can be, one person told me $3,000 to get tested. And another person who got tested and got treated was $11,000. And obviously not everyone can afford that. So, and worse than that, we cannot have a society right now where anyone is sick. When I was campaigning in 2018, one of the trick questions that you'd get asked quite often when you were talking about modernizing our healthcare system, well, should we cover undocumented people or illegal immigrants? And that was a tough question. Some people really did not want to consider covering people who were here illegally. But as we have seen, it's really dangerous for us to have sick people in our borders. So whether these people are documented or not, whether they are legal or not, it's very bad for us if they are sick. So yes, we will have to cover the costs of treating undocumented people who are sick with this virus. So I am proposing that we have to have COVID care for all. This is also proposed in the New York Times. So what's next after that? If we cover everyone's care, and to do that properly, by the way, we're going to have testing available. We still don't have testing. So we're going to need to be able to test everybody, and we're going to need to be able to treat them. It looks like, hopefully, we have some treatment options that are coming. I think I told you yesterday we have 44 vaccines that are in the works. I saw a story this morning about another vaccine that they believe will be, hopefully is a breakthrough and will be available as soon as 18 months, but that's a long time. And yet we can't last 18 months with the economy shut down. So what do? And there's a well-respected communicable diseases expert in France who says that the social distancing thing can only go on for so long. And what he proposes is that when we get testing under control, then all we need to do is isolate people who are at risk, so people with pre-existing conditions or over certain ages, high-risk categories. And if we're testing a lot of people, then we can simply isolate them. And if we isolate not people who are just tested, people who show up positive, and then people who get sick. So if we continue testing, we can restart the economy more quickly, but we need the test first. We really need to have so many tests that it's very easy to get tested before that can happen. We also need some effective treatments. We've talked about hydroxychloroquine, and it looks like that's being fast-tracked. Hopefully those tests work out, the clinical trials that they're doing, hopefully they work out well. So once we have testing and a treatment, then that means we can maybe relax our social distancing and perhaps get back to work more quickly. There's some other good news. Now, President Trump apparently yesterday said flat no to doing anything about the Green New Deal. But we're in a situation where our economy is being flattened, and this is an ideal time, if you've got to rebuild anyway, to look into new technologies. And I have been hearing that there are new battery technologies coming. General Motors has apparently announced a new battery that they believe will be better than the current batteries that Tesla has. They're talking about SUVs, big General Motors SUVs that can go 400 miles on a charge. And when that sort of thing starts to happen, these new technologies will help restart the economy. They will, and they'll also set us on a more sustainable future. I talk with people who are in cities across the world, and they're all noticing that the skies are clearer because the amount of traffic, the amount of industry, everything has slowed down. Everything that is based on combustion of fossil fuels has slowed down. And those of us that are concerned about a future for our children and our grandchildren based on the damage that's been done to the climate, that's heartening news to see that there's a possibility for a world that our kids can live in that will be just as wonderful as this world has been to us. But it's going to take new technologies and a willingness to go forward and possibly make mistakes. So we'll be talking more about the Green New Deal in the days to come. I want to thank you all for listening. I'm really enjoying doing this, and send me questions and I can talk about them. Send me any suggestions. We are aiming to have guests next week. My production quality hopefully will pick up just a little bit. It's very difficult to look at the camera, which is right there, but I see myself over there, so it's very difficult to do that, so I apologize. Hope you all have a great day. I hope you know that I love you, and we all should be taking care of each other. This is how we move forward, and this is to take care of your neighbor, take care of your friends, take care of your families, take care of everyone you know. Alrighty, have a great day. Bye. See you tomorrow. Bye.